It's like a whole parade of Minneapolis legends, one after another. St. Paul Peterson, Jimmy Jam, and the next generation, Mr. Cory Wong in the house. Give it up for him, everybody.
Now you know that we added the video.
You thought we captured it.
It gives me a little breath to be able to...
I'll give you a quick example of just my regular clean tone, and then I'll play some things that are more overdriven, and then I'll play some things where I use stereo effects, because that to me is where a lot of the magic in modern effects on the guitar sit.
Beautiful.
What do we think? What is it? Clean first. Can we get this a little more in the PA, please? Oh yeah, there it is. One of the things that I really find hard to get in a lot of amp modelers is feeling the dynamic difference in really.
Oh yeah, this thing does this. Huh? One of the things that I find difficult with a lot of amp modelers is having it feel different when I dig in, or feel different when I play soft, and respond in the way that a real amp does, because that's something that we still want. So I'll show you, I'll play it a little bit lighter, and then I'll dig in a little bit, and you can hear how the tone kind of breathes and changes with my phrasing and one of the other things that I like to showcase one of the things that I test for in gear is, I'm going to do that over. One of the things that I really look for when I'm testing gear is what I call the zipper test. Okay, this is when I test pickups, effects pedals, and amps. I'm going to play something, and then I'll explain the zipper, and then I'll play it again, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, okay. Okay, what you hear is, right? That's what I played. But what happens is, way down below that, you will hear a zipper that gets pulled down to the Earth's core that goes, and to me, that tells me that the pickups and the effects and the amps are responding, and the overtones are lining up in a way that's actually kind of improper, which causes this weird thing to happen. So you'll hear the bending up, but you'll also hear this that goes along with it. I'll do it again. You hear it this time?
Yeah.
It's like those frequencies are pretty freaking low.
Yeah.
Like that goes way down there. And that's also one of those things, like when you're testing gear, when you're thinking about things, listen for the way that the overtones line up and where other stuff is actually happening within the effects that aren't just, like that note is happening, but there's overtones above it, and there's just all kinds of other things. And if I'm going, it should respond in a certain way. And when I dig in it should naturally have a little bit more of a pointedness to it. Again, these are things that it's hard to know what to look for if you've never played on the real gear. And I think that's one of the real secrets to that's one of the secrets to playing through amp modelers and amp simulators is it's hard to find a good tone if you don't know what you're looking for. It's hard to know how to put the settings if you've just never actually played through the real gear. So, I mean, if I'm being honest, just go to your local guitar store, play through a bunch of amps, and pay attention to the way that the amps just feel when you plug in. Bring your guitar and play through a bunch of amps. Or go to a studio or your friend's place or whatever. Try it on.
Guitar text.
Mark, you gotta put your mic when you talk so it doesn't feedback.
So one of the wonderful things about the modern amp modeling gear and everything is that there's like every effect that's ever existed in there. And it's so much easier to get tones that you used to have what's called a wet, dry, wet rig. Or have all these different amps, have racks and all this stuff. Or just have stereo amps. And I used to do that all the time. I'd carry that around because I think one of the fun things is stereo reverb, stereo modulations, and stereo delays. So one of the fun things to do with stereo effects is to have time-based things and allow the effect to be kind of another instrument that you play with, which requires a certain level of listening also, where you have to accept the fact that if you hit a wrong note, it's going to happen again. So if I'm going yeah, it's like, oh, that note's going to stick around for a while. It's the worst mirror that's ever existed. Okay, I'll play a little something that has some stereo delay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Very nice. Nice to meet you.
Incredible. Love hearing that, and I love how you can so articulate. They talk about how you go towards your craft, how you create these things, and the tools that you use to create your signature sound and your unique artistic expression, man. I just love it.
Thank you.
You know, I've never heard the zipper test before, and I've been playing guitar. Anyone heard that before? That was incredible, right? And you know, some of the anomalies you're talking about, being able to hear and define by trying different things. Some of those anomalies are good. Maybe some of those anomalies that you come through your equipment are not good.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
But knowing what you're listening for is really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's great, man.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you. So, because I want you to explain it, so I don't have to talk so much. Because I've been talking so much. We're like, yeah, let's hear the engineer talk. A lot of people ask, well, you have this amp modeling stuff. Like, what do you plug it into?
Yeah.
Like, can you plug this sort of thing into an amp? Do you have to plug directly into a PA? What kind of things can you plug your modeling rig into, and why?
You got it.
I will. I'm going to turn my delay off, so that way, if I do a playing example, it doesn't surprise me, and I'm going to take a sip of my sparkling water.
Do that.
So you think about your answer.
All right. Thank you. Love it.
All right. Still got hard drive space, Carter? We good? How are
All
your
the time
cards
you
doing?
need. All the time you need.
Great.
Awesome.
Let's hear it.
All right. Yeah, with modeling, you have lots of different choices on what to do with that, right? So the modeler creates it's the preamp, it's the power section, it's the effects and all that stuff, and then what do you do to go out of that, right? Do you go into another tube amp on stage? Does that make any sense? Do you go into full range PA speakers? What is the best scenario? I think it's subjective to some degree, but you know,
let's talk about what would be kind of by the book, and of course, any of these rules can be broken. Blah blah blah. But the by the book way, at least the best starting point.
Got it. If you're using all the technologies built into most modelers, in my opinion, the best thing to go into next is a FR cabinet or a full range flat response PA speaker, right? Because there's so much magic that happens in current modelers, right? In the frequency range, that you need a full range cabinet to represent all that. A very flat response speaker cabinet is the ideal, or is the hope. That's the dream.
Yes.
Trying to get as flat, uncolored as possible, and let the modeler and the artist's hands create this tone that isn't colored by the gear. And that's what I think is my answer. That's my ideal for coming out of a model.
Yeah, because a guitar cabinet in itself, the way that guitar speakers are, the way that guitars into a regular guitar amp work is that speaker itself is designed to cut off a ton of the top end.
Yeah.
Like around 12K-ish.
In a guitar, a 12-inch usually cuts off between 5 and 6K. That low. I mean, as far as a hard cutoff after 5, 6K. And that's why, you have a single 12 or a 412. There's a pretty hard cutoff right at 55, 6K, right around there. It doesn't reproduce anything more than that without a high frequency transducer or something to carry those frequencies above there.
Yeah.
So your typical guitar tone from the day is a guitar speaker that only plays up to 5, 6K. Okay, but because of the amps and the tubes and everything prior to that, it gets real loud and real punchy in the mid-range and gives you everything you need. Anything above 6K would tear your head off. If the speaker could actually reproduce that, it would tear your head off. It would be too much. So we learned very young for guitar speakers themselves, and our great history there of making probably the best there's ever been is the EVM 12L. That falls off just after 5K.
Okay.
And that means when you put gain in front of it, which modern rock players do, appreciate it very much. Man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. There's lots of choices out there. But in the end, your artistry and how your amazing performance needs to be amplified and transferred to an audience. And it's how it reaches that audience's ears that matters, right? And that's what we take very seriously. We have the greatest engineers on the planet. A lot of them are musicians. They use gear all the time, and they create tools to hopefully make your job easier. That's our goal in life, right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right on.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, let me, I'll do a little summary and then we'll do some Q&A.
We also have talk about
Yep. Great. 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 So at the end of the day, to get really good amp modeling tones, get something that's just a pro level rig. My preference is the Quad Cortex by Neural DSP. There's plenty of great things out there. But so start with just getting a piece of professional level gear, but then train your ears to know what to look for. Play through the real stuff so you know how to dial it in yourself. The next thing is, don't be afraid to twist the knobs farther than you think. Like, oh man, would I really turn the treble up to 9 on this thing? It's like, if it sounds like you should right now, then yeah. If the threshold of your compressor is like, oh no, I don't know, dude, my teacher told me I shouldn't. It's like, well, is your ear telling you that it should?
There you go.
That's what you should listen for. So a lot of times, and this goes with any piece of gear, this goes with plugins, I'll oftentimes be like, wow, I can't believe I'm turning it up this much, but my ear wants it right now. Okay, cool, great. So don't be afraid to do that. Just because you read in a book somewhere or a teacher told you, like, oh yeah, you should never compress more than 8 dB on your voice. Like, just if it sounds good to you, then just do it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, at the end of the day, it really is just use your ear, train your ear, and let that speak for itself.
I love that. Exactly correct. It's part of our mantra too. You couldn't be more spot on. We say it every day. We demo our gear for people every day, you know, and say just, we don't talk. Just listen. And listen to us, listen to versus other manufacturers, and then choose. Whichever you choose, we're good with, right? Most likely you're going to choose ours, and that's okay. We appreciate that. But yes, couldn't be more spot on. Please use your ears in everything you do, from choosing a microphone, to choosing your speakers, to choosing guitars and pedals and modelers. I couldn't agree more. Spot on. Yeah.
Great, let's move back to behind the desk, because I think it probably this looks a little awkward probably. So let's go back there, and then we'll do some Q&A.
Yeah. Right on. Awesome.
They have the custom molded ones, but I like universal fitting ones. I don't necessarily swear by any of them right now. I'm so confused when it comes to in-ears right now on what I love, because there's just a lot of them. I'm just like, yeah, this sounds dope. I bought a pair of, what's that brand that I bought, the Amazon joints?
KZ. I have something.
KZ. These things are like $60. I'm like,
That's why I bought.
why do these sound so good? I'm so mad. That's why I'm confused. Like the KZ sound incredible. We bought some $30 ones. We bought some $70 ones. We bought like the $200 ones. I'm like, there's no way that these $50 ones sound this good, right? Like, this is insane. They've stolen technology. That's what it has to be. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they have. I'm not. Sorry. Take this out. Sorry. Let me rephrase it. Certainly, they must have stolen some incredible high-level technology that they're going to get in trouble for. But I doubt that. I think they're just making really good stuff and finding a way to do it affordable. And I have yet to break a pair of these in-ears. Ultimate Ears makes some good universal ones. Shure makes some great ones. The 535s are cool. There's just like so many that are great now. I think, again, try some of them out. I don't think you need to spend $1,000 to get great sounding in-ears. I think you can buy $70 in-ears and be just fine. I hate to say it. It's not a really fun answer. Maybe it is the answer you want. You had a question right there.
Yeah, hey, wondering if you have experimented at all with putting interesting guitar pedals after your amp modeler in a way that you can't really do when you have a real amp on stage.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I've always run my pedal boards is just going into the front of the amp because it's easier. I've never been an effects loop guy. I know a lot of people do that, and I've never done the wet, dry, wet thing, which is basically you go direct into the amp, and then you have these two other amps on the side, and like your wet effects go in there, but your dry signals down the middle. Like, come on, man, it's like... Honestly, I don't have a guitar tech on tour, you know, so I'm not going to set all that up, and yeah, it's not going to happen. So a lot of that kind of stuff that you needed rack gear for, and you needed 3 or 4 things, yes, that sort of thing, or different types of, like I was showing you the stereo delay. That's something now, it comes after the amp in my modeling, and some of the modulation stuff, it's just nice to have afterwards, because it lets the amp do its thing and then the reverb do its thing. Yeah. Hi. Okay, there's less variables there when the cat's just like, yeah, I got this 40-year-old microphone I'm putting in front of your cab, and then they're running some whack mic in through some who knows what, and then into their processing. So to me, I'm actually just taking things out of the equation. Typically the way, if I'm being honest, the diplomatic way that I approach that is when I plug it in, I'll just say, hey, just a heads up, I got a lot of EQ on my thing. Can we just start leaving my channel flat, no compression or EQ? And you know, hopefully they have enough respect to do that and listen for it. But it's also just okay to ask, like, hey, do you have some EQ on my guitar? It's sounding a little bit weird right now. And then, like, oh yeah, I'm trying to fix this. And it's like, oh yeah, we can compromise. You know, I think communicating in a way that lets them know that you respect them and appreciate them, but also don't mess with my tone. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, right there. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Cory, my name is Dave.
The first one, as far as playing with Mark, it's the same thing as literally anything that's ever existed in the history of music. In an orchestra, how do the violin 1 and violin 2 and the violas play together? A lot of it has to do with arrangement. So when I'm playing with other guitar players, I'm not as concerned about, oh, are we taking up the same frequencies and tone? But yes, we are. That is somewhat of a concern. But more than anything, it's about what function am I taking care of? What function are you taking care of? And how do they work together? We're making sure that we're listening, and really it's just about finding parts and things that work together. And then if there is some sort of tone discrepancy or tone clash, we'll fix it. To answer your other question, as far as the way that signature products work, it's different for everybody. It's different, you know, as far as like if I have an idea for something, blah, blah, blah. Normally the way that it works is you negotiate some sort of percentage of net profit. So, you know, I don't get paid up front for any of the XYZ, or maybe they do give me an advance, you know, or something. I don't think I've ever gotten an advance on a project. Have we gotten an advance? No. Look at this guy just staring me down. My manager's staring me down through the pipe. It's like, he's got that mute switch. No, I'm completely fine being fully transparent with this, because I mean, most things have a most favored nations contract with their artists. So, you know, if word does get out, it's pretty much everybody's got the same thing. But normally, you know, we'll go through the R&D of it, and then once the product starts to get sold, it's some percentage of the net profits. So, yeah, cool.
Most, and in what situations?
Well, fortunately, I've resolved this entire thing over the last 6 months. At this point, I'm only using these 2 electric guitars. I have a Stratocaster, which gives me all the tones that sound like me, that most people know me for. And then I have this guitar that gives me every other tone that I needed. And that was the purpose of this collaboration with Music Man, is I got a lot of other tones that I just can't dial.